Greetings and happy holidays, everybody. My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode of our 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. That's right, we are back with episode number 7. Like usual, we're going to pop that box, we're going to see what we have in store for us, and we're going to build it, have fun with it. Now, I am going to go ahead and make a quick announcement though. I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of this week off, and we're going to go ahead and restart next week. So I'm not planning on getting a video up here for Wednesday or for Friday this week, but next week, I'm going to go ahead and go back into it. That'll extend our episode just a few days after Christmas, so that should be fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this box. As you can see, we are moving right along. We just have 2 more left here on the second row. So let's go ahead and push on through here, and we'll see what we have in store for us today. Fish around, and there it is. Let's go ahead and pull that out. Check it out. We have a P51. This is the C version by Academy. And oh man, I'm excited to build this because that Stuka, that was an amazing kit. Hopefully this one is just as equally as awesome. Now again, I've always liked the early P51s because I just like the look of the canopy, and Academy hasn't let me down yet. Even the Wildcat, which was not as nice, was still a fun little kit. Came with a stand. I was able to build that into a nice little desk ornament there, and it worked perfectly. So I have high hopes this kit is going to be equally as fun. Now first off, we can check out the plastic here, and we can see right off the bat that we have a multi-part canopy, and that's awesome. Now hopefully this canopy works better than the other ones that we've had, and this one actually allows me to open it and keep it in the open position. I don't see why it wouldn't because it's a different style as the other ones, but I think that's okay, and we should be in good hands with that. We are given a couple of other options of canopies, such as a closed canopy and one that has a bit of a bubble right in the middle of that sliding section. Now let's go ahead and check out the plastic, and first off, yeah, they have quite a bit of detail on the inside of the cockpit, and that is awesome. Though oddly enough, we do have a rear tail that is separate from the front fuselage. I'm not really sure why. We've got some good detail on the wings. The landing gear bays look really nice. We do have molded in hardpoints for our drop tanks, so that's okay. Now, as you can see a close-up here, we have very finely recessed panel lines, beautiful looking cockpit, very nice looking bezels. So this is a really cool kit. Throw some seatbelts on there, we'll be good to go. Another close-up here, you can see a lot of piping and ribbing here in the wheel wells. I think a little bit of paint there, maybe a quick panel wash, and I think it is going to be perfect. Of course, very nice detail on the inner gear doors as well, so I'm happy with that. The fuselage as well, beautifully recessed panel lines. From the underside, you can see we do have detail in there, and that looks pretty awesome. Can't wait to go ahead and apply some paint to that, and as far as I know, this is going to be a standard interior green. Nothing real fancy with that, and then we can come in with some black and paint up some of the instrument panels. Now for the markings, we are given actually 3 different versions. And the one I think I'm going to be probably doing here is this one from Italy 1944. It's got a really cool all yellow tail with a red nose, and I think that looks pretty striking. So this is the one I'm most likely going to do. This is the second offering. It's actually a P40B according to the description right here. We also have another version here, which is one in the Chinese Air Force markings. I didn't know that the Chinese Air Force had P51, so that's interesting. But we are given parts for that, and we are given decals for that, so that's nice to know. We have those at a later time, and if we don't use it, we can always hold on to the decals. Like I said though, we're going to be doing this second option. This is probably my favorite scheme altogether. Of course, we do have the box top version in here as well. This is a neat looking scheme, but I want to go ahead and do the all yellow tail. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and jump into a time lapse, guys. Our very first one here on the episode. We're going to put together as much as we can and just get a lot of work done because I can't wait to see how this thing goes together. Let's do it, guys. right, everybody, we are back, and we have a basically assembled P51B, and I got to tell you, it looks pretty awesome. Went ahead and overcoated the wheel bays and the tail wheel well with some nice interior green, so that's done, and the cockpit is all nicely fixed up, and we have everything closed off, ready to go for primer and all that good stuff. I do want to go ahead and do something really quick, though. This back flap right here for this radiator, I want to go ahead and give it a bit of detail. So I know there's an actuator that sits kind of right in the middle of that pushes it and pulls it open and closed. So we're going to go ahead and add that with some stretched sprue. I think that would be kind of interesting to get some detail in there. Now, there isn't actually any sort of radiators or grills or anything, and you can see directly through from one side to the other side. So that's a little annoying, but I don't want to spend a lot of time and scratch build details and all that. So we're just going to let it be. Now, to go ahead and make our actuator, we're going to be using some stretched sprue, and I'm going to be going ahead and stretching some here. This is actually really fun, and once you get the hang of it, it's actually very, very cool. You can get a lot of very interesting different diameters of stretched sprue. So we're just going to get a nice decent size here that I think works well. Hold that just for a little bit, make sure it kind of stiffens up a bit, and then I think we'll be good. We can chop off the ends, measure it down, and glue it to the inside of that little flap. I think we have a nice section right here. Let's go ahead and just cut off each of the ends. This is why you always like to hold on to your sprue, because you never know when you might be needing to stretch some sprue and create some extra detail. So it's good to have it around. Now we need to go ahead and check and see how long we need to make this. And I'm thinking we need to cut it right about here, right where my tweezers are. I think if we cut it right there, we can then glue one end down to the inside of the flap, and then we can just glue the flap in place. You won't see it make connection with the top floor, but that's okay. Not really that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and just grab our sprue cutters. We're going to nip this off, and I think we'll have a decent actuator ready to go. Then all we have to do is install it there. Just a quick bit of glue. There's actually a little bit of an indentation in the top of that door. I'm not sure why, but we're going to use that to go ahead and glue the actuator in place. I think that's going to be perfect. Of course, it is kind of difficult to hold on to these tiny little parts, you know. I'm used to 1/48 scale, but we're moving through. We're getting there. So I think I'm going to put it right about here, and we can glue that down, grab a little bit of extra thin, drop it in there, and we'll be all set. So now we're going to go ahead and move into another time lapse, guys. I'm going to go ahead and first off start here with some seam filling. I'm going to go ahead and take care of any openings that I think need to be sanded down. We've got some super glue here. We're doing my typical method that I always like to do. And so far though, the fit on this has been excellent. I haven't noticed any issues. There's no major gaps. The wing slotted right into place. I just have a little bit of a step right here in the front. That's okay. Everything else looks great. So I think what we're going to do now, we're going to push forward. I need to mask off the wheel wells, then overcoat just the canopy with a nice interior green color. And then we can go ahead and prime the entire aircraft. So let's go ahead and jump into that time lapse, push this as far as we can. We're going to try to get as much work done as possible. We are going natural metal on this, so I want to make sure that all the seams are nicely sanded down, very smooth. And I think we're looking awesome. All right, guys, let's do it. Let's get on with our time lapse. All right, everybody, we are back. And as you can see, I went ahead and I overcoated everything with that nice all-clad gloss black. That is awesome primer. And we're going to go ahead and then come in with, I believe I'm going to use some duraluminum by All-Clad. Again, we're going to come over and just kind of mist light coats over the entire aircraft. This thing is so smooth, it's like glass. I think this will actually turn out to be a really neat looking natural metal finish. Like I said, duraluminum by All-Clad, I'm going to go ahead and use that as kind of our base coat. And I have other paints I can use for some accents. From what I understand, the World War II variants would have painted aluminum wings and then natural metal bodies. So there's a little bit of work to be done. I'm going to do a little research and see if I can't figure out exactly what I'm doing here. All right, we have a game plan. I have my airbrush all loaded up. Let's go ahead and jump into our next time lapse and let's get this thing all nicely painted. If we push forward hard enough here, we can probably get a good chunk of work done. Let's go ahead and get in there and get this thing one step closer to being finished. All right, everybody, we did a lot of work here. Our P-51 has the OD front anti-glare panel, we've got the yellow tail, we've got the yellow and black on the wings, we've got the aluminum paint over the wing itself, we've got the red nose, we've got the black propellers, the yellow tips. We are looking pretty good. I like how this is turning out so far. So we've got everything also gloss coated as you saw in the time lapse. So now it is time to move on to decals. Like I said, we're going to be doing the version from Italy 1944. I'm going to go ahead and carefully cut out all these decals, and then we're just going to start applying them. Now I'm going to use my same technique as always, a little bit of microsol, a little bit of microset, and I think we'll be really ready to go ahead and get this thing finished. After we get the decals on, of course, I will overcoat one more time with Future just to make sure that we seal all of the decals in, and then we can go ahead and start our weathering. Now, I don't plan on doing too much in terms of weathering. I'm going to keep it pretty clean, but I will do some panel line accents here and there, do some dust here and there as well. I'll probably end up using a little bit of our panel liners by AK that we got from Joe. I think that's going to be a good place to start. I can get a lighter color, and I just want to add a little bit of detail just to drop in the panels. So I think that'll be awesome. Let's go ahead and jump in, get this P51 all finished up. Let's do it, guys. This is so much fun. All right, everybody, we are back and I have finished my P51. It is all set and I can't wait to show this to you guys. I love this model. This was a great little build. It went together beautifully, it painted up well, and I think it looks pretty striking. So here it is, the 1/72nd scale Academy P51B, made from the P51C kit. Let's go ahead and just walk through the model just real quick. As you can see, I did a little bit of streaking here and there, kept the weathering to a minimum, didn't go too crazy with that. We've got that yellow tail with the yellow ends of the wings and then the black stripe, all airbrushed, so I think it's actually very smooth. It looks pretty decent. We have a little bit of dust and dirt here in the wheel wells. I also used some of the North African dust wash that I had, threw that in there, and that helped to kind of dirty it down just a little bit. Just a real quick close-up here, guys, and we can check out some of the details. Now, this painting was actually a lot of fun. From what I understand, a lot of the P51 wings were actually painted in an aluminum color. So what I did is I overcoated that with Vallejo aluminum. The rest of it, though, is all clad. Duraluminum for most of the panels, and we've got some aircraft frame aluminum for some shading. We also have a jet exhaust panel up here in the front, just a real quick misting of that. Underside of the wing, you can see the variations as well. Some of the painted aluminum, some of the natural metal aluminum. Got our lights here on the side, painted in clear. We have some dust and dirt and grime coming out of the wheel wells, some streaking here and there. We have a little bit of some gun dust coming back across the rear of the wing. We've got the actuator right there. You can look inside. As I mentioned before, you can see right through from front to back or back to front. So that's a little disappointing, but for the most part though, I like the addition of that little actuator, adds some interest in there. Now you'll notice that the canopy doesn't fit as well as I would like it to, but it's good enough for me. At least I can pose it open. We've got the olive drab up front there for the anti-glare panel. This was a really fun build. We have one more Academy kit. I'm assuming it's going to pop up here sooner than later. I'm hoping that that one actually will be just as nice as this kit. Now, in terms of extras, I did add a couple of seatbelts right there inside the cockpit. Those were just basically Tamiya tape painted in buff and then weathered down just a little bit with some panel line wash. And also the front gun sight. The molded in piece of plastic they had wasn't very great. So what I decided to do is I removed the actual reflective part of it that was just molded in gray plastic, and I added a little piece of clear plastic. This right here, this little plastic sheet, I just cut out a little square and glued that right on down with some PVA glue. That actually worked perfectly. But that's going to go ahead and finish up this episode, guys. The P51 turned out beautifully. I love how this thing kind of came together. The decals were great. The weathering, it's not the greatest, but I think it works for this particular kit. And I am happy to say day 7 is in the bag. Now we're going to go ahead and take a couple of days off though, guys, because I'm burning out a little bit here with the kits. But I think we're still going to be able to finish within the month of December. Most likely, we're going to be finishing on the 30th as opposed to the 25th. So just 2 episodes off. No big deal. But we'll be back with day number 8, most likely on Monday the 21st. We'll go ahead and pick it up from there and continue on and get this all wrapped up. So thank you so much for watching. Until the next episode, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here on the next episode of our 12 Sprues of Kit-mas Holiday Build series. Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you soon.